Grab silver bullets, a stick or a cross, or you'll be swimming in undead sauce, 'cause it's Halloween, it's crazy.
Hello, I'm here for Reality and Beyond's Halloween special, and we're doing a Harry Potter Halloween special. And as you can obviously tell, I'm Harry Potter. So now I'm just waiting for JD and Clock to get here so we can start our Harry Potter Halloween special.
And there I am, Dumbledore, the great wizard of Harry Potter School, that's right.
Dumbledore?
You know Dumbledore. Dwarf on golf, dwarf on soccer, dwarf on fishing, Dumbledore, and now dwarf on wizardry.
Not Dumbledore. I said Dumbledore. Dumbledore is from Harry Potter, not Dumbledore.
And that's what I am, Dumbledore.
Close enough, I guess. At least he's not wearing a tutu.
What's Clarky coming as?
It should be Haggard.
Haggard.
Told Clark to be Haggard.
Hey guys, check it out my outfit, man. This is awesome or what?
That's not Haggard.
I'm Batman.
You're Batman.
Batman.
Yeah, Hagrid.
Look at the bat belt, the bat thingy, and the bat hat.
What's
And-
that thing?
Oh, that's Robin. You guys look awesome, man.
I don't think that I've ever read Batman in Harry Potter.
Well, he's a wizard, man. He can bring it. Anything can happen in Harry Potter world.
All right, whatever.
Hey, well, welcome to the Halloween show.
Yeah, very good. Harry Potter Halloween Show.
And Batman too, I guess.
Yeah.
That's right. And Dumbledore. Today we've got lots of places we're going on our Happy Harry Potter Batman Dumbledore special.
That's right. So, and now...
What was that?
I don't know.
Well, you know, there's lots of spooky things going on. But not everything is just a joke, as we found out when we went to Salem. Check this out. Halloween is often thought of fun times, parties, dressing up, going out, getting candy. And one of the most popular costumes out there, of course, is the witch. So we came to Salem Witch Museum in Salem, Massachusetts to find out more about the meaning of the word witch.
My name is Allison DeMario. I'm Director of Education at the Salem Witch Museum in Salem, Massachusetts.
First of all, I'd like to thank you, Allison, for inviting us here to the Salem Witch Museum. Allison, you've been here for 16 years. What are some of the changes you've seen with the museum and the Salem area since you've been here?
That's an interesting question. I think Salem has changed substantially over the last 15 or 16 years anyway. I noticed a big change after the 300th anniversary. In 1992, we got so much attention because of the commemoration we did. We had a year-long series of events commemorating the Salem witch trials. We had people from all over the world. We had a lot of press from all over the world, and I think that increased the number of people who wanted to come to Salem. It increased the interest in the Salem witch trials. It was really a very, very important year. And I think the city is also changing in other ways. We have other museums here that are really very good. The Peabody Essex Museum, the House of the Seven Gables, and there's a lot to offer for tourists, a variety of interests. So I think the city's coming right along. I'm very impressed with it.
You know, when most people think about witches, they think of the black hat, the black dress, and the green face. Do you find that there's a lot of confusion about what the meaning of the word witch is?
Yeah, the word is complicated. I think it depends on who you are and where you are as to how you define it. In the 17th century, there was a specific definition. It meant you'd made a pact with the devil. This is very much an idea of good and evil. In the 17th century, people were very afraid of the forces of evil. And the idea that you made a pact with the devil meant that you would also receive, in exchange for your soul, powers that you could use to torment other people. In present day Salem and in other places in the country and in the world, people practice witchcraft or Wicca and date their beliefs to pre-Christian times, to an earth-based religion that draws traditions from the Middle East, from ancient Greece and Rome. It's quite an eclectic religion, and it's entirely benign. They believe that anything you do comes back to you 3 times. The idea of the stereotypical witch is certainly nothing that they want to be involved with, although they understand that that's part of our culture. But they do worship a goddess. They have 8 days during the year that are special to them, 8 festival days based on the changing seasons, because again, it's an earth-based religion. And so that the solstices and the equinoxes and quarter days in between are important to them. As I said, there are a lot of people in Salem who practice it, and around the country and around the world.
Could you give us a brief summary of what happened in 1692 here in Salem, Massachusetts?
In truth and in fact, the first little girls who became ill in a very frightening and mysterious way were very young. They were 9 and 11 years old, and they were the niece and daughter of the minister of Salem Village, which is now the town of Danvers. He was so concerned that he called in a doctor, and the doctor made a diagnosis of bewitchment about these 2 little girls, Betty Paris and Abigail Williams. There had been 100 cases of witchcraft in New England before 1692, so this didn't fall into a vacuum. It was in people's minds that there was the possibility of witchcraft, that you always had to be on guard against it. And so when this diagnosis was made, when more girls, young girls, exhibited the same symptoms, the community, or at least some of the community, became very concerned and started questioning the girls and really what we would call now leading them, giving them, kind of giving them answers that they wanted to receive, so that finally the girls named some names. And the first 3 people to be accused were brought in for questioning. 2 of them said they had nothing to do with the practice of witchcraft, but the 3rd one confessed. And that confession and a few other events that happened right around the spring of 1692 led people to believe that in fact there was a conspiracy of Satan in their community, and they needed to punish the people who had made a pact with the devil. And so basically that's what started it. When the governor came, a new governor came to Massachusetts Bay Colony in May of 1692. He saw that people were being arrested. They were called in for questioning. You never got by the questioning. You always were held over for in prison, waiting trial. He created a court, and the court sat for the first time on June 3rd. The first person to be tried was a woman named Bridget Bishop. She was convicted, hanged on June 10th. And that started a summer of executions. There were 3 more hanging days. Ultimately, 14 women and 5 men were hanged, and 1 man was pressed to death for refusing to cooperate with the court. So it happened very fast. A lot of visitors come to Salem thinking this took place over years and years, and it was only women, and people were burned at the stake. In fact, men were involved. 5 men, actually 6 died, and it took only a summer. And the punishment under English law, the punishment for practicing witchcraft was hanging, because it was considered a treason against God and a treason against the king. And so no one was burned at the stake here. Not that it was any better to be hanged, but just accurate. It was true, according to the documents, that the girls were telling fortunes by putting an egg white into a container of water and then trying to discern a shape that the egg white took to predict who they'd marry. This is something that girls have been doing since there were girls. But in Puritan New England, that was considered very wrong, because Puritans believed in the doctrine of the elect, that God had a plan for you before you were born, and it certainly wasn't your business to try and predict what that plan was, and fortune telling is trying to predict the future. And so certainly the girls felt guilty about doing that. The people who confessed were kept in prison, because confession was considered the first step toward redemption, because now you're going back to the side of God. And also they were, in some cases, willing to name other people.
What stopped the trials, and what was the aftermath?
Trials, or the hanging days went on through the summer of 1692. The governor was away. He was dealing with other issues north of Salem, north of Boston. And when he came back, he saw that mistakes were being made. There were many people who thought what was happening was wrong. There were some people in some authority, like Thomas Brattle, who was a prosperous businessman. He wrote a letter protesting what the court was doing. Other people protested. Many people at risk of their own lives signed petitions to save the lives of the people who were accused. And the governor also, and this I've read this in various places, heard that his own wife was going to be accused because she had helped somebody escape who was accused. And if you helped somebody, that was guilt by association. Why were you doing that unless you were a witch, you know, that kind of thing. So he disbanded the court of Oyer and Terminer in October. And once that happened, the trial stopped. Then a new court was formed in 1693, the Superior Court of Judicature, and that did not allow spectral or invisible evidence. Invisible evidence was allowed by the court of Oyer and Terminer, and that meant that two people could testify that they had seen the spirit or the specter or the ghost of one of the accused doing X, Y, and Z. No defense against that. So the trials ended in October, and then because the new court didn't allow spectral evidence, and clearly enough people understood that they had made a huge mistake, and so the people that were still in prison were freed, and there were 3 people condemned by the previous court, and they were pardoned by the governor.
What draws people to the Salem Witch Museum and to the Salem area in general?
I think they maybe expect to see something much more mysterious. We tried to be very accurate in depicting the history. It's puzzling in some regards because there's some questions that will never be answered. But I don't think it's mysterious, and we certainly don't intend to frighten people. If you want to be frightened in Salem, you need to come to Haunted Happenings, because there are haunted houses that will frighten you. That's what goes on. I mean, that's what people expect for Halloween, but not ordinarily. And we certainly don't set out to frighten anyone. We do set out to let people see, first of all, what the history was, and second of all, its relevance to our lives today.
After a tour of the museum, a quick stop in the store, we spoke with some of the student employees here at the Salem Witch Museum. What is the most interesting thing that you've learned since you started working here at the museum?
There's a theory called ergot, or the ergot theory, about how because of the damp conditions at the time and harvesting the wheat and the bread that they were making, that there would have been an LSD-like substance that would have been ingested in the girls and may have caused hallucinations that would induce them to say that they were under the touch of witchcraft. And it's something that has a lot of popularity as a theory. Even respectable sources, you think like the History Channel, when they do documentaries on it, they will give time to talking about ergot. And put, intelligent, credible historians, acting as if it could be something that really happened. And I think when you look into it, and as our education director believes, and as I believe, you see that there really isn't any cause to really think that that's what was going on. Because if you look deeper into it, it's not so much about drugs as it is about the things that humans have always been motivated by when they do something as vastly evil as this, and that's money and property. And under the laws of the time, if you were accused of witchcraft, the person that accused you, were you convicted, would receive your property. And a lot of the people they were accusing were people that they had land rivalries with, that they boarded, that there had been bad blood between for some time. When you look at that and you look at who they were accusing, you could really see it's just the evil of humanity itself. But it was very interesting to me how many people go to cling to that theory because they don't want to believe that people are like that, and they look for a reason to see us as other than what we are.
I've come to find that the most interesting aspect of our museum is actually not the main presentation, but our secondary exhibit, which is called Witches Evolving Perceptions. And it connects the witch trial events to events that have happened throughout history. The Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor and how people scapegoated Japanese Americans, that was a witch hunt, and McCarthyism, how that was sort of a witch hunt, and right up until modern times with terrorism and things like that. And I think it's important that we connect these events, you know, right up until now so that we can learn from them, but unfortunately we don't always learn. But a lot of people find it very interesting when we make the connections between all of these events. They're like, oh, I didn't think of that before, or I didn't realize that, you know. So I think with that exhibit, in addition to our main presentation, is the most, it makes the museum worth coming to.
Well, I didn't know the whole story about Giles Corey, about him being pressed to death. I thought that was really a terrible event, obviously. And it's also very interesting that something like that could happen in a town, the town that we're standing in right now. I just find it fascinating that they could torture somebody like that.
I think pretty much all of humanity should probably find something interesting in this, and that it's kind of lessons you can learn that will apply to pretty much any age. Hysteria can take over and a lot of people can lose their lives. But, something as simple as a fear, just with the right trigger, can really take on a life of its own. Well, at least that's the case with the Salem Witch Museum. We talk about the witchcraft trials and all.
If you would like to know more about witches, take a small trip north to Salem, Massachusetts, and visit the Salem Witch Museum.